So, a lot of you might have watched Balatro University's video where he talked about speedrunning and speedrun.com. Due to Balatro's rising popularity and newer players looking to enter the speedrun community, I thought this might be a good time to make a short and simple guide. I'll divide the guide into two parts, with the first one being a little beginner friendly and the second one focus more on advanced strategies. The aim of this is to make each video more digestible instead of info dumping everything at one go. If you are an experienced player, I would still recommend you to watch this video since I might cover some stuff that might be new for you too. I have divided the video into multiple chapters for your convenience, so feel free to skip to any part you feel like you want to see. Hi guys, I'm Gunjo. I've been running Balatro for a little under half a year at this point, and some of my achievements as of the time of recording this video is I have 4th place in the Plasma Random Seed Skipless category, which is arguably one of the most popular categories on speedrun.com. I also have 2nd place on 3 decks Random Seed Skipless, and I am currently grinding for some other categories like 7 deck and all decks. All these terms might be a little confusing for you if you haven't visited the Balatro page on speedrun.com, so I would like to walk you through that first. Speedrun.com is the speedrunning leaderboard, which is the most widely recognized by the community. You will generally find most top runs being submitted to this website, and the runs are strictly verified by moderators who are part of the community itself. You can see that there are a lot of tabs on this page. To those who are new to speedrunning, these are known as categories. Each category has its own rule set and completion objective. For example, the category 3 deck means completing a run with 3 different decks in one continuous sitting. For a roguelike, it might be arbitrary, defining what it means to complete a run, especially if you're an endless enjoyer. For speedrun.com, completing a run is defined as clearing the anti-8 boss. You can click on any category and read the rule set by pressing on the Show Rules button. Furthermore, each category is broadly divided into 2 subcategories, namely skips and skipless. Skips means that you are allowed to skip the small blind and big blinds for any ante, while skipless means that you are not allowed to skip any blinds throughout the course of the run. As a result, skipless runs are often slower than skips runs. Now that I have briefly gone over how speedrunning works, let's get into the meat of it. What category should you be running? Disclaimer, I am primarily a skipless runner and I don't run challenges, so I wouldn't be able to give you solid advice on that. If you would like to run challenges instead of a particular deck or full game category, you can head over to the speedrunning Discord, which I have linked in the description below. A lot of talented runners are active there, so you can drop any questions that you might have. Now, Balatro is a game that has a lot of RNG. Hence, even though it might be the most run category, I would not recommend you to start with random seed runs, especially on the Plasma deck. You will probably spend a lot of time re-rolling for good seeds, and the grind can unfortunately get pretty frustrating. A fun category I would recommend you to start with is 3 decks. It allows you to focus your strength on 3 of the 15 available decks. Usually people pick the Plasma deck because it is hands down the fastest deck to play on, and then 2 other decks which they are the most comfortable with. Mostly these 2 decks are chosen from the set of Checkered, Abandoned, Yellow, Blue, Erratic, and Anaglyph if you're doing a run with skips. I highly recommend going with the Plasma deck and any 2 other decks that you are comfortable with. You don't need amazing RNG for 3 deck run as compared to a single deck run. So you don't need to reset all the time when you have a dead run, and you can surprisingly make things work with enough skill. In this video, I will try to focus mainly on the Plasma deck and give you some general advice for the other decks, especially the ones which I mentioned earlier, covering general strengths and strategies for each deck. Before I start explaining, I want to clarify that, like I said earlier, I'm primarily a skipless runner and I don't have the best advice for a skips run. especially for the plasma deck. The overall run strategy will somewhat be similar, but a little more advanced strategy that is nuanced to the skips run might be lost on me. The plasma deck is objectively the fastest deck to beat the game with, and here's why. With the plasma deck, whenever you play a hand, the chips and mult count is balanced and then the score is considered. So let's say that you have 100 chips and 40 mult. On a normal deck, your score would be 100 times 40, which would be 4000. However, on the plasma deck, your score goes through the following formula, and you get a final score of 4900, which is 900 points more. So it's faster to scale points on the plasma deck. Also, since it's a lot easier to get more chips than more mult, the best strategy is to focus on jokers which give you chips. Since the fastest hand to play in Balatro is high card, we will try our best to focus on playing just that. One of the best jokers in the plasma deck is, you guessed it, Stuntman. Stuntman gives you plus 250 chips for basically no downside, and with high card on the plasma deck, you score close to 17,000 points in a single hand. Unfortunately for us, this also means that just getting Stuntman is not a guaranteed win. Once you get Stuntman, you want to look to make more copies of it or to copy its effect. One of the best ways to do this is via Blueprint or Brainstorm. These are rare jokers, so it might be a little difficult finding them, but it is pretty important to win runs. So you want to focus on rerolling to obtain these jokers. Some more ways you can copy Stuntman is via the Invisible Joker, which is also a rare joker. I would recommend selling any other jokers you have before selling the Invisible Joker to copy, so it is guaranteed to replace the Stuntman. Another way to copy Stuntman is the Ankh Spectral card. This is probably the most niche one, but in desperate situation, opening that Spectral pack could keep an otherwise bad run alive. Another very useful joker to have is the Bull. The Bull Joker basically converts all of your money into chips, and most importantly, it's a scaling joker. This means that as you keep playing, as you save up more money, the value provided by the joker increases. In my experience, if you have two bulls, which is that if you're able to copy bull or the effect of bull via any of the jokers or methods which I mentioned earlier, you practically have won the run, since by the end of the run you will have a lot of money saved up. Once you have a setup going, you generally don't want to reroll or open packs, so all that interest money gets added up and gets converted into chips. Personally, Bull is my favorite joker in the entire game, and you will probably see it feature a lot in my speedruns, not only in plasma deck runs. It is just too versatile and it gives you good incentive to not open packs or reroll, which is pretty fast in a speedrun setup. The general flow of a plasma deck run would hence go as this: get any common chips joker to sustain, reroll for Stuntman or Bull, reroll for copying methods like Blueprint, Brainstorm, Invisible Joker, and win the run. Easy, right? Now let's talk about the early game. The early game is the most reset heavy part of the run, because you need to focus on getting a good setup for the late game, especially since you need 200,000 points to beat the anti-8 boss. Yes, Violet Vessel is 600,000 points, but if you get Violet Vessel, there is a good chance that the run is already dead, but I'll talk more about this later. It is very unlikely that you will get a Stuntman or Bull from anti-1 in your runs. If you are resetting for it, then don't. Instead, I will recommend some great common jokers that can carry your run until a certain anti, usually 3 or 4, and then you can start re-rolling for better endgame setups after saving up some interest. The first one is Banner. So we all know that discarding is slow, and Banner rewards you for that with plus 90 chips for each hand, which can carry you till the boss of anti-3 by itself. Blue Joker. Again, since you're playing high card, you will usually have 40 to 44 cards in your deck, which will give you plus 80 to 88 chips with each hand. This is enough to carry you till the boss or big blind of ante 3-2. Gelato. I have such a love-hate relationship for this joker. It can be very solid, but it falls off so fast, especially if you're not able to clear a round in one single hand. Still, pick it up when you get it. Personally, I would sell the joker once it falls below 50 chips. Riffraff. Riffraff is a funny inclusion in this because you normally wouldn't associate it with plasma or chips. But it's funny because there are quite a few common jokers that are very useful on the plasma deck, and Riffraff can give you somewhat of a decent chance to get them. Even if you don't get banner or blue joker, it can help you block other common jokers from the shop, so you potentially could have better odds of finding them or even something better like Stuntman or Bull. Some more honorable mentions are Scary Face, Odd Todd, Hanging Chad, Sly Joker, Clever Joker and Crafty Joker. They are not the most sustainable obviously, but they can help keep your run alive until you find better alternatives. Also in general, picking up any foil jokers is good because plus 50 chips is very valuable in the early game. If you're able to do all of this and end up finding a Stuntman or a Bull along the way, then great. There is a good chance that you will probably finish this run. If not, don't feel too bad. Just reset and go to the next run. You might find a winning setup in the next run, who knows. At any point or on any of the antes, if you see the boss reroll voucher, I highly recommend you take it. If you encounter Violet Vessel as your final boss, it will be game over for you unless you have a setup like Blueprint, Brainstorm, Snutman and all the nuts. You will lose. It is worth putting in those few extra seconds to get that voucher and spending that extra $10, $20 in case you come across any hiccups in the middle. Now, let me briefly go through some of the other strong decks that you might want to choose for your 3-deck run. First up, the checkered deck. The strategy for this one seems pretty obvious by reading the deck ability, go for flushes. But I would say from a speedrun perspective that instead of tunnel visioning on flushes, make use of the starting power of it. The fact that you can make flushes on demand will help you win the early game antes very easily without having a good joker setup. And I would say that try to pivot into something like high card or pair, which is much faster to play in the later rounds. There are multiple reasons for this. The first one being that flushes scale way too slowly. It is slower to play and score 5 card hands than to score 2 or 3 card hands. And there are a lot of good jokers that synergize more with non-flush hands than with flush hands. A nice example of this is Blackboard. It is one of my go-to jokers on speedruns because with high card or pairs, you essentially get free 3x mult. You only need to be a little alert and not make too many mistakes by missing out on hearts or diamonds in your hand. Abandoned deck. This is a deck that I swear by. Having just 40 cards in the deck makes it so much easier to find the cards you want by discarding. One of the best synergies for this deck is the Ride the Bus Joker. If you're able to find it early, for example before Ante 2, it will be amazing because the Joker literally gives you +1 mult per hand played on this deck, unless you have added face cards using standard packs. Again, I would recommend going for a smaller hand size like high card or pair, but the abandoned deck makes it easy to play hands like 2 pair as well, so it's certainly something you can consider. Yellow. I was one of the few non-believers in the yellow deck early on in my Balatro journey, but the extra economy early game is just too good to not believe in. You essentially start getting interest from Ante 1, and after getting to maximum interest, it is child's play. If you come across multiple good jokers in one single shop, then you have the ability to buy all of them instantly, and it gives you such a good head start into the run, and it saves a lot of time from re-rolling in the early game. Blue deck. You might wonder why I am recommending blue deck and think what's so great about having just one extra hand. Well, not only is it +1 hand, but it's +$1 per round, which is again very strong in the early game. At this point, you might have realized that this is a common theme in most decks, and it is true. The early game practically defines your run. If you get a good scaling joker early, by ante 8 it is going to be extremely strong for the money you invested in it. Having a good joker setup early game allows you to save up money to reroll in shops and find even better jokers. Though I generally wouldn't recommend buying planet packs since they are slow to open, they can sometimes be a potential option too. Of course, the +1 hand also comes into play in some scenarios, which is why the hand grabber is such a good voucher. If you even end up scoring just 20k per hand, you can make it to 100k with 5 hands, which in my opinion is very useful to realize as a speedrunner who's just starting out. Erratic. Personally, I don't get the appeal of this deck. It is just way too random. Yes, you can have an amazing run if you end up getting like 10 aces or 25 spades or something crazy like that, but let's be real. More often than not, you're gonna end up with 7 queens, no jacks and 8 twos. So it's best to just glance over your deck distribution at the start of the run than just not pay attention to it throughout the run. Don't tunnel vision into 4 of a kind queens because you have 9 queens in your deck. Play simple Balatro, that should be more than enough for you to win the run. Usually I like to give the same advice as that for the checkered deck. Leverage your ability to win early game rounds more easily. Save up money to buy jokers which can give you great value by the time you reach ante 8. Speedrunning Balatro is as much about strategy as it is about adaptability. When starting out, don't reset too early. Play through all of your runs, even the potentially dead ones, to build skill, muscle memory, and quick decision making. These traits will improve your consistency and help you achieve personal best much faster. Whether you're a beginner or an experienced runner, I hope this guide has given you new insights and strategies. Remember to experiment with different decks, combinations, and strategies, and to have fun. If you have any questions, feel free to join the speedrunning Discord or leave a comment below. Good luck and happy speedrunning!